Hi everyone, Drini here, and welcome to my channel. So we're going to do a quick update on the Axie Infinity tokens today, because given the recent price action of Bitcoin, it really now becomes very confusing as to what the action plan is when investing in altcoins, specifically our gaming cryptos. And let's dive in. So let's start with AXS first. This recent Bitcoin capitulation since November has resulted in us breaking weekly market structure. So on a weekly time frame, we breached through this 21 EMA right here, and we actually breached through the 55 EMA last week before the rally today that pretty much brought AXS back to above the 55 EMA right here. The important thing to note is we have to map out all scenarios at play here, because it is still entirely possible, and if you notice, we are sort of getting rejected right here on the 21 EMA on a weekly time frame for Bitcoin. It is still possible that we are still prone to a downside test either of this lower low or this particular low right here. So this is still at play, and this is something that we have to take into consideration. So if we were to further capitulate from here, where could we potentially go? So let's start with the bearish case first. Because we had a break in structure right here, the bearish situation is we are on our way to an eventual destination moving down. So if we map out a reverse Fibonacci, where this is the one right here, so this break in structure, this particular break of the 21 and the 55 EMA structure is your 1, and the recent high is the 0. The worst case scenario for AXS is a 1618 destination of around $17.99 or $17.85. Why is that? That is because after this particular run-up right here, which we assume is a 5-wave Elliott wave structure, we have a massive ABC correction where this is your A wave right here, for example. We may have a B wave high, but if the markets continue to be weak or if Bitcoin gets rejected with key levels and goes into a bear market, then expect that we may eventually end up in the 1618 of $17.99. Will this happen? Of course, it can still happen, but what is the likelihood of it given the recent market rally? It really depends on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin goes above the EMA structures that we have identified in my last video and just now, then you can throw the scenario out of the picture. But once again, this scenario, while it is less likely, is still at play. This is something that you still have to account for and you have to prepare for in whatever shape or form. But let's assume that we are really back on track. That Bitcoin, for example, is forming what we call a running flat. So a running flat is you have highs right here and you have lows right here, but if you notice, we did form higher highs and we are forming lower lows before the subsequent continuation to the upside. If this particular region right here would really be our local low for in the near future before our move to the upside, what's going to happen with AXS? This is where we really now have to map out bullish structures to the upside, and the way we can do that to project where we could potentially go is we need to lay down the fibs right here, where this all-time high is the local high and this low right here would be the local low. Where could we potentially go? The potential destination for AXS is this $388 range right here, or the 1618 extension of this particular structure. The way we'll get there, of course, is through a 5-wave Elliott wave run-up. So what we need to do is perhaps form more weekly candles to the upside, and this goes down right here and this remains flat. We need to be above this structure for this to have any merit. Go above the 21 EMA right here, back test it as support before the subsequent moves to the upside right here, back test it as support before our eventual destination of around $389. If you notice, this would be our 5-wave Elliott structure that we would have to monitor moving forward. But the first step is really to break above this 21 EMA line right here. This break would really depend on how fast can we recover from a Bitcoin standpoint as well as global assets in general. If we go back on an uptrend, then this is still pretty much in play. So now that we know the potential scenarios here where AXS could really go both ways here, what could be the strategy moving forward? The conservative one to take is if Bitcoin would fail to rally above key EMA structures, then you really have to hold off purchasing here, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to be caught up in the middle of this while we still have a final destination that is much lower to the downside. So if Bitcoin gets rejected and if we are suddenly testing lower lows right here, expect that AXS would really go down and eventually meet our destination of $17. If that happens, then you don't want to be here because this is pretty much a dead man's zone where you are neither DCAing appropriately And by the time we get to these price levels, if you keep DCAing like this, then you really are missing out on the various multiples that we can achieve by buying at the bottoms right here or by buying at key levels below as compared to just hovering in the middle. But if Bitcoin goes above our key weekly structures, then we are pretty much very confident that we need to load up as quickly as we can, because once Bitcoin goes above weekly EMA structures and tests them as support before continuation to the upside, then we know that this is a relatively risk-free position to be in, that we can now treat this zone as an accumulation zone. If Bitcoin fails to go above key support levels, then we have to withhold investing in AXS for now, because we know that there's further downside to come. If Bitcoin goes above key EMA structures, then we know that we are pretty much good to go and is relatively risk-free to accumulate around this level before a subsequent move to the upside. But again, everything I say here, not financial advice. So for SLP, what's happening is, given this particular run-up right here, unfortunately, we went down below the key EMA structures because of Bitcoin weakness and because people are just selling off based on this particular rally right here. Now, the key thing to note about SLP is, as long as the inflation rate is still very high for SLP, and that remains to be the case in spite of the origin announcements, because of course, the seasons are still going on and you still have a lot of players who are cashing out their SLP and dumping it into the market. So until a revamp of particular structures, then expect SLP to either just keep going below the EMA structure right here. And there are a couple of things to note here. Will we eventually go down like this because of violent sell-offs, for example? Or is the anticipation for origins resulting in just a sideways movement right here? This sideways action means that people are choosing to accumulate SLP more than just dumping it into the market. This particular phenomenon right here is because people were just cashing out, fearing that if they don't cash out quickly, that they are going to be the ones that will be left behind in selling it at lower and lower prices. The anticipation of origins, though, is quite good for SLP, because what you're seeing here is you're seeing signs of more people holding SLP. And if SLP just hovers sideways like this is actually good for the token, because for you, now you have two situations at play. One is, do you want to accumulate SLP because of anticipation of a price action move to the upside once origin is out? Or you can just continue to dump into the market. Either way, this sideways action, if this scenario plays out, is actually very good for both those who want to accumulate and those who want to sell SLP. So let's see in the future what the price action will be. If you like that video, hit like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you want me to make a video about your favorite gaming crypto? Be a Patreon subscriber so you can request for it. Being a Patreon subscriber helps keep the channel sponsor, shill, and Moonboy free. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.